what's it, gangsters parasites. You know, I was kind of thinking about this when Elon Musk became the first pretend trillionaire. He can't put his hands on no $1 trillion. It's all money on books, right? And so this fake inventor, he's not a real inventor. He's not a true founder. He didn't find the Boring Company. He wasn't the founder of Tesla. He didn't innovate any technology. He only holds like 2 or 3 patents. And the patent he holds for Tesla is literally like the latch on the gas cap or on the charge cap, that latch. So this fake motherfucker, they calling him Tony Starks and shit. And he's an imbecile. You ever hear him talk? He's a parasite. He's fake self-made. His family was obscenely rich. His father owned a South African emerald mine, and he was extracting Africa's wealth and didn't pay taxes. And even in an interview, he acknowledged that he never paid taxes to the state for the wealth he was extracting because, number one, he's racist. And number two, he literally said, because those Negroes will spend up all my money. Why would I give my monies to the government that I'm extracting wealth from when they're just going to spend it on other Negroes? So everything about this man is a lie. And up to and including, he has $1 trillion. He had to go. He's in debt to the Saudis and the other oil oligarchs. He went in debt to buy Twitter. SpaceX has never generated a profit. And its whole existence is on speculation. So I'm just thinking to myself, how fucking stupid the world is. And one of the biggest obstacles to people securing freedom is their fucking stupidity. And I'm just going to be honest. Nobody listens to me anyway. See, you messing me up. Before I get into this topic, please donate and support the Bro Diallo Show. Please become a Patreon supporter. You can make a Cash App or Venmo contribution. If you don't have the material means to make a positive contribution to our efforts at the Bro Diallo Show, like, share, and subscribe. It's probably too late.
It's not.
I told you we should start off with that. Anyway, just people's stupidity. Even people who are discontent and hate the system. When you talk to the average person about their conclusions about the system and why they're discontent with the system, 9 times out of 10, even the most militant people, like I know you love Dr. Fubar, they're mad because they're excluded. Or they're mad because they don't think that they've received their just share of the spoils of empire, right? So, and there's an old quote saying, if you can make a man believe absurdities, you can make him commit atrocities. And when I heard that about it, you have to believe in absurdity to commit an atrocity, I go and look at many of the major atrocities surrounding, our history and our lives today. And many of them are rooted in falsehoods and absurdity. And it's very easy to see the falsehoods and absurdities of religion. And it plays a big role, so I don't want to let it off the hook. But there are a lot of secular beliefs that are not grounded in any type of material fact or reality that we believe in that drives the majority of us to either commit atrocities or to be passive in the face of atrocities, right? And one of the absurdities or falsehoods is even the greatness of America. I was just listening to this whole Obama shit and some of the speakers and presenters at the Obama and people on social media talking about just hating from outside the club. I was looking from a distance. I wanted no parts of that Obama shit. But just an observation. And they were talking about America's a great country and pretending as though Trump's election and administration is somehow a deviation or a departure from the standards and norms of America. And I saw a picture, which made me want to flip this table. I shouldn't even be talking about this. I'm gonna knock this camera over and flip because I'm sick of the bullshit.
That would make great content. Do you want to do it?
You want me to? I ain't got money to replace none of this. I don't want my wife to come in here and curse me out on camera. But I just know that's how I feel. That's not what I'm gonna do. But there was a picture of Clinton and Hillary, of Biden and Dr. Biden, of Obama and Michelle, and Bush and that skank he's married to. I'm just gonna be mad disrespectful to the Republican first ladies, if you don't mind, until they stop disrespecting Michelle. And not Michelle, but just black women, period, as the standing. But anyway, somebody posted a picture, and there's a meme going around with these 3 presidents, all war criminals. Conservative, compassionate conservative war criminals, liberal war criminal, and neoliberal war criminal. And somebody says, wow, I wish we could get back to normal. As though these 3 presidential administrations were normal. It's something we could get back to. But the reality is, the United States has always been a barbaric nation. It has always been bloodthirsty and barbaric. The United States, from the first time, those people, even the people who came here, the first white people, not going back to the Vikings because they didn't really establish a foothold, but for the first white colonies on this land, it has been thirst for blood. When I came up in the United States, I was taught that the Puritans meant that they wanted to be good people. That the Puritans were people who came here because they wanted to worship God and be good and pure. Because you hear the word pure, you automatically think wholesome like you, like a wholesome dude like you.
Well, I'm not.
You're not anymore, not since I showed you Melania's titty glasses. But before that,
you converted
before
me.
I corrupted you, you were a wholesome dude. So when people say pure, they think of dudes like you. But in the European, Western, Christian, Protestant context, purity meant purged. That means the most militant, uncompromising version of Christianity. That the heretics, the heretics, these people that came over here first were the people that were cutting out tongues. If you spoke the name of Yahweh, they would cut off your tongue and cauterize the womb so that you couldn't blaspheme. They would gouge out people's eyes for gazing upon idols. They had this thing called the breath ripper. They would rip and the heretic's fork. Go look up these torture dudes, the heretic's fork. So these people were bloodthirsty murderers. They were the thirstiest murderers out of a whole culture and nation of bloodthirsty murderers. So when they talk about purity, they're talking more along the lines of Hitler. They're not talking about Jigglypuff and the Teletubbies wholesomeness. They mean to purge with fire. These are the people that founded this nation. And of course, when they came here, they had to play it cool because the heathen, godless, savage Indians still had a relatively superiority in numbers and superiority in logistics and ability. So the day they got here, they were like, yeah, let's be cool. But they began to build forts and set up cannons. But the day the white man got here, this nation has been about conquest. Or as Dale Jones said, America is a criminal enterprise founded by a bunch of criminals. And it has never deviated from that, right? And so the United States is one of the first major societies to go from barbarism. That's the theory. Nations start off as barbaric. In the Western historical analysis, you need strength to establish order. Because there's this a philosopher named Hobbes who wrote a book called Leviathan, which is a really good book. It's not a good book because it's accurate in terms of describing humanity, but it's very accurate in terms of describing the mentality of the European, where he basically said that without a strong, powerful leader, life is brutal, savage, and short, or something like that, but you will die early. So you need the only way to have a society or a civilization is if those in power can exert the most violence to suppress the violence of the masses. So you need one powerful, violent force that surpasses and bends all other people will. So that is the barbarism. But after you have the monopoly of violence given to the state, then you can go about having a level of stability. The craftsman, the fisherman, the culturalist, the academic, the artist can all go about their craft without fear of violence. And even if violence is visited upon you, whoever visits violence upon you will have to suffer the greater violence of the state. And that's their whole culture. Whole culture. They call it survival of the fittest, but it's not about fitness. It's about survival of the most brutal, savage, bloodthirsty. And according to their own writings, that is the root of their civilization. So their philosophy is your society is established through brutality, brute force, taking the land and bending the people to your will. But after the people have been built to the will of the most savage, the most powerful, then they go about constructing civilization because there is a level of stability and safety there imposed from the top. And then you have civilization. But once civilization is imposed, people become comfortable. They lose their memory of the suffering and the struggles that go about making this civilization. And so civilization fall into decadence. And then the decadence, so you got a lot of wealth, you got a lot of architecture, and decadence caused the collapse. It caused the decadence, causes the decay, and then you go right back to barbarism. And then barbarism, back to civilization, back to decadence, and that's the cycle. But the United States, upon its establishment, was established through genocide, slavery, brutality. The United States went straight from barbarism to decadence, but it's never had a civilization. There is no American civilization. There is no United States of civilization. Because of the rapid growth and expansion and the obscene amount of wealth that was almost instantly bestowed upon this nation through the theft of indigenous land and the enslavement of Africans, they didn't even have to bother to build a civilization. So the United States has gone from barbarism to decadence. And now there is this flow between barbarism and decadence. You be brutal and heartless enough to get a lot of money so that you can live a decadent life. And even the art forms, you look at all of the high art of the United States, opera. My wife and I just went to the opera a few months ago. That's from Europe. All of the musical genres that can be defined as American come from Africans. The blues, rock and roll, zydeco, hip hop,
even country,
R&B, country. So even things that are defined as American culture or American civilization were not only brought here from people outside the country, the very people that gave the United States what could be defined as American culture, those are the people who were despised and brutalized by this culture. So anyway, history is not taught here. It's very curious when we talk and you tell me about how history is presented in Nigeria and how it's Western oriented. But in the United States, it's even worse. It's not even that the history of America is Western oriented. The history of America is pure propaganda. It's pure propaganda. People in this country are so heavily propagandized and indoctrinated that when you present them with facts, they think you're assaulting them. They think that you're assaulting them. And I tell the story all the time. I had a history professor who had a PhD in history from Harvard. And I would just be talking about facts of American history. And she was like, you must hate white people. You act like you hate white people. You know, it's like if somebody is accurately describing you and you say, hey, you're calling me ugly. You know, if someone is accurately detailing the facts, the documented facts of your history, but you even see in real time, we don't even have to go back a decade or 1,000 years or 100 years. Look at the history, how the history of January 6th is being rewritten within our own lifetime. And these motherfuckers have said, number one, January 6th was a setup. It was actually Antifa that did January 6th. It was Antifa. And they were pretending to be patriots, but it was Antifa. Then they said the FBI goaded them people into going in there. That the FBI opened up the doors and let them in. Oh, it was a peaceful rally. It wasn't violent at all. Yes, it was violent, but it was Antifa. Oh, no, it wasn't Antifa. Yes, it was violent, but the FBI forced them and invited them in. And in fact, it didn't happen at all. Those people were the rioters were the victims. And they never report on the feces. The Capitol building was a hazardous, toxic site because the white people that ran up in their own Capitol building were defecating and urinating and smearing feces and urine all over the monument. These people who say they love America and want to make America great again. Nobody talks about it. And it's been so many times I'm like, yeah, they smeared feces.
Yeah, that's a level of another disgust. Like, how you even touching feces with your hand? Like, how disgusting you. Oh, Lord, I can't.
There was